I have a rather specialized little bit of information to give to you. And one of the things that all these agencies have in common, if you apply to them, or any other law enforcement agency, is that one of the first things you're going to have to go through is something called an oral interview. So I want to take about 10 minutes, and I want to talk about the oral interview process, things that if you're thinking about a career in law enforcement, you need to start thinking about now, not the day before your oral interview. First of all, as Professor Redding was talking about, there's something called intelligence gathering. So if you're going to apply to Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department, the Santa Barbara PD, the FBI, LASO, one of the things you should be doing is going online and finding out what the job description is. Every department's going to have on their email or their website not only a job title, police officer, deputy sheriff, evidence technician, whatever, but a job description. Going to tell you in great detail what a person is expected to be able to do for that job. You should know what the job description is for any job you're going to be applying for. I guarantee you that when you get into that oral panel situation, they're going to ask you questions about your understanding of the job you're applying for. Learn something about the jurisdiction. If it's the city, Santa Barbara City, you should know, a little bit about the demographics. If it's the county, same thing. If it's the highway patrol, well, that's kind of statewide. If it's the FBI, well, that's a little bit different because you're, as a potential employee for the FBI, you could literally be working anywhere in the country and in some foreign countries. Learn something about the department. As a person who used to sit on oral interviews for years, it would amaze me that someone would come into my police department and say, yes, I've always wanted to be a member of this department. This is an exciting department. What's the chief's name? Can I get back to you on that? You don't know the chief's name for the department you've always wanted to join? And this, remember, I was a police officer back BC before computers. So today you have the internet. You have the ability to get all that information. How big is the department? One department I worked at, 35 officers. You come to my department over there and say, yeah, I want to join your department, and ultimately I want to fly the agency helicopter. Guess what? We didn't have an agency helicopter. We had 2 agency motorcycles with no dogs. First impressions. If you're going to be taking an oral interview for any job, but specifically law enforcement, you need to think about what you're going to wear before you go into the interview. If you're going to ask yourself, you're attending a business meeting. So how do you dress for a business meeting? Men, proper business attire. That means a suit and tie. It doesn't have to be an Armani suit and tie, but it should be a suit and tie. Okay, if you can only afford slacks and a sports jacket, that's fine. But a suit and tie. What do I have out there? White long sleeve shirt. Why? Well, you can get, there are all kinds of colors out there, all kinds of patterns. But a white is a very plain, type of a business shirt that's not going to offend anybody. How can your attire offend anybody? Trust me. There are people out there that can be offended by the most ridiculous things, including a tie. You don't want a tie, again, you don't want a tie that has any kind of logos or anything on it about any organization. I guarantee you, if you leave here and you go to USC, and then you walk into your oral interview with a USC tie on, I guarantee you across on the other side of the panel will be the Alumni Association president for UCLA. Should that have any effect? No. Could it? Yeah. So very, very basic. No jewelry except a wedding ring. No facial hair, no earrings, no studs. No. No cell phone. Yeah, just turn your cell phone off. Better yet, leave it in the car. You don't need it vibrating in the middle of your interview. I found this is kind of neat. Which one would you hire to be a police officer? But the thing is, I've seen both of those people show up for oral interviews. People come in very casually attired. They got their, they have tats all over their arms or whatever because they wear a short sleeve shirt. And it's like, yeah, I'm here to be a police officer. Well, guess what? Not here. Think about the impression you're going to make. Your first impression starts when you walk in the door, before you even take a seat. All the members, and these guys could be on your oral panel. Every one of the oral panel members is looking at you when you walk in the door, and I guarantee you, before your butt is in the seat, they've made that first impression. Women, again, business attire. Remember, you're attending a business meeting. Minimize your makeup. I know, but I have to remind you that, you know, you're not going to a party, okay? Minimize your jewelry. You don't want to sit down and clank and make all that kind of noise. No perfume. I know, because what happens is a lot of these oral interviews are in small rooms, and pretty soon your scent fills up the room, and it can be distracting. And if it's someone like me, I start sneezing. And again, no cell phone. This is something that really has always amazed me. Just about every single law enforcement agency that has oral interviews asks the same first question. It's called the icebreaker, if you will. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and why are you applying to this department? And people look at you like, what? No, seriously, you should have a 30-second to 1-minute personal commercial already planned. Talk about your strengths. Talk about your desires. You know, there's really nothing wrong you can say other than, well, I need a job. And I had someone say that once. You needed a job. But why here? I don't know. Needed a job. Thanks for playing. You should walk in there saying, you know, this is my background. You know, I attended Santa Barbara City College. I've got these units. I've interacted with law enforcement agencies. I've talked to members of the panel. I'm really interested in law enforcement. My strengths are, you know, I've got a college education. I'm doing this. I'll do that. You know, but have something that you can say to sell yourself. Never use the word job. Always use the word career. You're not, you know, I'll tell you right now, the people up here are not talking to you about a job. They're talking to you about careers in law enforcement agencies. You know, when someone's hired, they're pretty much $1 million to $2 million investment, because over the course of 10 or 20 years in a position or longer, that's how much they're going to pay in salaries and benefits and training and things like that. So it's significant to them to spend that kind of money. They're looking to pick the right people. Always make eye contact with all the panel members, and for God's sake, smile. It's okay. Some people have been there and they're so nervous. I understand that. But relax. Make eye contact. That's important with all of the panel members. And smile. Answer all questions truthfully. The one thing that will get you kicked out of the law enforcement application process at any level, whether it's walking in the front door, oral interview, background investigation, whatever, the one thing that will get you gone just like that is telling a lie. You lie to them, you're gone. And the bad news for that, even worse news is, the FBI is going to take your fingerprints, the Sheriff's Department is going to take your fingerprints, CHP is going to take your fingerprints, and they're going to run you through the system. So you lie to the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department, and then you go to the California Highway Patrol. They're going to see on your fingerprint your kickback that you applied to Santa Barbara Sheriff's. CHP is going to call Santa Barbara Sheriff's. Hey, he was on your list. Why'd you drop it? You lied. Okay, thanks. Guess what? You're screwed again. Never lie. The truth might hurt. Yeah, I got arrested when I was 16 for doing something stupid. But it doesn't hurt as much as losing your opportunity for a career by lying. If you're given a hypothetical situation, take a moment. The people giving you hypothetical situations don't expect the right answer because you're not a trained police officer. What they're looking for is a reasonable answer in your thought processes. People will ask, would you give your mother a ticket? And of course, people think, well, I've got to say yes, because after all, I would say no. It's Mom. I still eat over at Mom's house. Okay, you wouldn't give your mother a ticket. Would you arrest your mother for DUI? You stopped her and she was intoxicated. Well, again, the first thing you want to think of, well, can't let her go because she's, can't. What's wrong with saying, I would have another officer come over and take a look at the situation because I'm biased? What that shows is common sense and thinking it through. Again, they don't necessarily want the right answer. They want to know your thinking process. Is it logical? Is it reasonable? Use your common sense. The closing statement. This is another big opportunity people often don't take advantage of. In many interviews, at the end they'll say, okay, thank you for coming in. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close the interview? Most people look at you and go, no thanks, that's okay. Missed opportunity. This is another opportunity for you to give a brief synopsis of your strengths and weaknesses. I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come in here today to this interview. I really had my heart set on being a police officer here, or deputy sheriff here, or member of the highway patrol, or the FBI, or whatever. And the last thing I want to tell you is, all I need, I think, is the opportunity to prove you that I can do the job. Bam! You've made that great, excellent last impression before you walk out the door. Okay, there's an interview panel I would never want to see. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to ask the members of our panel to come up and make their brief presentations to you. And then it's 10:30 now. This is going to take a little bit because we've got 7 people. And at the end, we're going to open it up for questions. And any question you have about the jobs, the opportunities, the qualifications, the processes, we'll do that. So I think the federal government's going to trump this one here. So, Steve, yeah,
jump on the grenade. Go
sure. Okay. We have Special Agent Steve Edson of the Ventura Office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, before you get started, I want to tell you one thing. We're here because we want to tell you about all the different kind of job opportunities. My daughter has been with the FBI for almost 16 years, but you know where she started? She started in the mail room on Wilshire Boulevard delivering mail. Now she's working foreign counterintelligence. So you can start a bunch of different places and move up. So without further ado.
Thank you. Good morning. When Tom was speaking there, what he said about the interview reminded me of something. It's kind of off the topic of law enforcement, but I think it plays to what he's saying. It's very important to remember. My best friend and his wife own a company, and they hire people all the time. They get about 60 or 70 employees. And his wife does all the initial screening of all the applicants. And here's what she does. She makes you wait at least 10 or 15 minutes if you're not early, and she watches what you do. And she puts something on the table in front of there that's about their company, and she sees if you pick that up to read it or if you're texting. Because if you ignore the thing about her company and you're texting, you're not going to be doing well. Another thing she'll do, she will go in the parking lot and look inside your car. If it's full of crap. So the evaluation is, like Tom was saying, the evaluation, it goes beyond just what you write on your resume and just what you say. It's really everything about you.